Welcome to the Maltepes Show. I am here with Craig Tallent, and he is a former Green Beret sniper in the military. He knows Mandarin Chinese, and he is now turning to to a musician in the music side and music industry. Very interesting person. I've heard many things from a good friend of mine, Reed Ogden from In Betweeners, and you've joined the music room, correct?
That is correct, yeah.
Yes. So I have a question to start off. How did you go from being in the military for 5 years, then going to college, Vanderbilt, correct?
Yeah, so I did Vanderbilt first.
Vanderbilt for how long were you in college at Vanderbilt for?
All 4 years.
All 4 years, graduated. Then you went to the military, and then you turned now to music.
Yeah, so I've been playing music my whole life. You know, my dad taught me a lot of like bluegrass kind of songs. He was from Eastern Kentucky. And I didn't know anything other than country music existed until I was like 13 or something like that. And we listened to, he'd drive me to school in the morning, you know, as a kid, and we'd always listen to the local radio station right here, the country station. And picked up a guitar, started, you know, just kind of playing bluegrass, finger picking, and then heard some Jimi Hendrix and Stevie Ray Vaughan, and, you know, kind of moving on from that, some acoustic stuff like John Mayer, that kind of thing. And so I've really been playing since I was probably about maybe 9, 10, 11, something like that. So I've been playing for a long time. The one real constant in my life has been music, you know, whether I'm, you know, playing golf or doing college, the military, everything. That's been the one constant. But I've never actually done something like this where I put out like a full, you know, just solo kind of project. So now that I'm, you know, 36 and, you know, married with 2 kids, I figure why not now?
Right timing. So you grew up with love of golf, you just said, right? And the love of music, essentially, since you've been playing since you were 9. I also did hear that you have the record at the Marion.
Well, so Marion has 2 courses, the East and the West. I got the, as far as I know, the course record of the West. Shot 61 when I was, I think, 18.
Wow,
18.
young.
Haven't sniffed that score since.
Yeah. So that's a very, very prestigious place to be at. So you grew up with the love of golf and a love of music. Now you're attacking music, right? I have a question. Why did you never attack golf?
Well,
especially with such a high level of skill.
I did try.
You did? Okay.
Didn't make it that far. I was pretty good as a junior. You know, got a scholarship to play at Vanderbilt. And there was a guy there named Luke List who's won, I think, 2 times on the PGA Tour now. He was a senior when I was a freshman. And I went into Vandy pretty cocky, you know, thinking I was, you know,
the guy.
You know, first team All-American, Ryder Cup, PGA Tour, like, you know, done deal. I played 1 round with Luke List and saw the writing on the wall. I played well at a course I'd never seen. I think I shot 1 over or even or something like that. He played decent, shot like the smoothest 65 I've ever seen. Didn't even look like he was trying. And, you know, obviously played a lot more with him and other players that are considerably better than me. And so to say I didn't give it a shot, I did give it a shot, and, you know, it didn't work out. So, you know, the military was calling my name soon after that.
So how did you get into the military?
You know, I've always had a great respect for the military, but never really had time where I could dedicate, you know, at least 5 years of my life to doing something like that. And then after I graduated from Vanderbilt, I think I was still dating a girl at the time, had no job lined up, didn't really want to leave Nashville, so I was just hanging out, just kind of like a bum. And then I think I did like a different path or something, come home from a friend's house and saw the Army recruiting station just in a strip mall somewhere, and just poked my head in and talked to the recruiter there for a little while, and just kind of saw what was going on and told him my background, you know, like, you know, Chinese and, you know, athletic, whatever. And he was like, "Hey man, I'm going to make you a cryptological linguist." I'm like, "That sounds pretty cool. Tell me that." And man, he's just classic recruiter mode, like telling me I'm going to be like James Bond and, you know, stationed out in California, like doing all these cool ops, speaking new languages, you know, making all this money. I'm like, "Oh hell yeah, that's exactly what I want to do." So I'm leaving this recruiting station with my mind made up. You know, I still get to work on my Chinese a little bit. You know, I get to be in the Army, get to this new adventure, you know, deploy and do all this James Bond stuff. That's not what crypto does at all. But my, you know, not knowing anything about it, that's what I thought it was. So I'm walking out, and I see this kind of wall of brochures on the side with, you know, little pamphlets for every MOS, every job in the military. And kind of like right in the middle of it, I see one for the Green Berets, you know, Special Forces. And it was like just this dude in a ghillie suit with a sniper rifle, like in the woods there. And I'm like, huh. Yeah, so I take it down, and I go back to him. And I'm like, "Hey, sorry, I know we just talked about crypto, but what can you tell me about the Green Berets? And I think kind of like the push that got me over the edge, I'll never forget it. He looks me up, looks me down, looks me up, goes, stick to crypto, kid. You ain't making this up. I'm like, well, okay. And signed up, I think, the next week. I was in basic a couple months later. I mean, that's a little, not exactly like the reason, but, you know, I wanted some adventure. Always had a great respect for the military. Wanted to do something that I thought was cool, and you know, it was a cool, I guess, something to do after college. Because, like I said, I didn't have a job lined up. I was just kind of hanging around looking for something to do, and this was a good way to accomplish that feat or accomplish that goal. You know, and you know, just a personal kind of just test myself, see if I can do it. And,
So,
okay.
let me ask you a question. Going into the military, the training, especially for Green Beret, what was that like?
Yeah, so the Special Forces Q course is roughly 2 years long, from the day you start at basic to the day you walk across the stage and get your beret. Now it changes every couple years with the new commander, but it's pretty much, so I did basic training, and then from there you do airborne school, and then from there you go up to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, where you do like a prep course for about a month called SOPSI, and then you do SFAS, which is Special Forces Assessment and Selection. And that's, it changed. I think it's 19 days or 21 days. It kind of varies sometimes. It was basically 3 weeks. And it tests your mind, your body, your interpersonal skills, you know, and because that's a big part of being a Green Beret is even if you're just like an athletic stud, if you can't get along with people, if you can't interact with all sorts of people, you know, and kind of be a, you know, be the gray man, as I like to say sometimes, you know, you get peered out. So even if you are doing great, if you're like the bottom 5% or whatever it is, you get enough, it's called pink slips, get enough of those, they just take you out. Or they won't take you out, and they'll let you finish the 21 days, then tell you at the very end of it, like, like, and it's all mind games.
It's all mental.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, it's all mental. And then after that, it varies, but you do like kind of like a leadership course. Then there's a small unit tactics, which are basically out in the woods for a couple months, just learning, you know, maneuvers, you know, and then there's language school that's 6 months in there, kind of right in the middle of it, and then so. I already spoke Chinese pretty well, and I volunteered to have Chinese as my language, which no one in the right mind usually volunteers for.
It's the hardest language for an English speaker.
So I kind of had like a little 6 month respite in between there. Just kind of hung out, which was good because all my buddies were, you know, some had Arabic, you know, French, you know, Russian. I mean, like you learn all these other languages, and I'm just kind of sitting there, you know, hanging out for 6 months. So that was, luckily I got to do that. And then after that, you go to MOS phase, which is military occupational specialty, which is basically your job, what you're going to do. And I was the 18 Charlie on my team, which is the engineer sergeant. Essentially, I built stuff and I blew stuff up. Then after that, you go what's called Robin Sage. And that is a month-long, just pretty much culminating exercise of everything you learned over the last year and a half, basically. And it's like a war game. I mean, they have this, it's incredible. I could talk about it for hours about how detailed the stuff is, but it's basically a scenario that you and 11 other Green Beret trainees, sometimes you can parachute in. We actually got to we infilled on pack mules, just kind of up in the woods, like on mountains. And yeah, it's this war exercise, and kind of the same thing at the end of it. After all these scenarios, they'll just tell you if you passed or not. And they'll usually, if you haven't recycled before, they'll give you a second chance because you've made it so far, and they've put so much money and time into training you just to see if you can figure it out. You know, yeah. So after 2 years, they either give you a thumbs up or thumbs down, and that's basically how you get into being a Green Beret. After all that, you start all the way back over on a team, and so that was the training to get there.
So, growing up, you were born in Miami and you moved to Philadelphia, right? And you grew up in Philly, correct?
Yep.
How did that shape your early life, and how did it shape you going into Vanderbilt and obviously the military?
Yeah. So moved up to Philly when I was probably like 3. So Philadelphia is all I know. Yeah, it was good. I'll admit I was kind of in a little bubble. I went to a private school, you know, played golf at some nice courses, you know, and I wasn't upset about that at all. It was a great way to grow up. And then went to a really nice college at Vanderbilt down in Nashville. But I knew that there's a lot more out there, you know, to experience, a lot more people that I just didn't know. And that was also a little bit of a factor for me joining the military. You know, there's going to be people from all over the entire country, you know, that I just wouldn't have had access to otherwise. So just kind of the unknown there, and just kind of the will and the drive to meet new people and experience new things was definitely a factor to it. But like, that was kind of a roundabout way to say, you know, I had a very, very nice upbringing, but you know, I wanted to see if I could try something else.
So I have a question. Did you have that Philly fight in you going into the military where you like a little more like stronger mentally?
I mean,
now?
you can call it that. I'd be embarrassed if I quit. You know, like I never had a problem with failure. You know, if you fail something and you like actually give it your all, then that's fine. That's just another chapter of life. You know, but I knew they were not going to make me quit. They're going to have to kill me. You know, to get me out of there. So I don't know if that's the Philly fight or if that's just me being stubborn. You know, but maybe it's like the Eastern.
Maybe a little bit of both.
A little both, I don't know.
A little combination.
I don't know. But, that might have played into it a little bit.
Yeah. So you did travel to Europe, right? When you were younger?
Yeah. No, I did. We played a lot of golf over there. I was in a orchestra at my old school, played the cello, and we went on like a European tour when I was like 12 or 11 or something. But I've been over there a few times.
So how was that, playing the cello? So you really did have a true love from when you were smaller.
Yeah.
11, 12, you said, right?
Yeah, and piano. So I played piano and cello first growing up. Probably started lessons when I was like 6.
Wow.
And then cello a little after that. But I was listening to these, country songs, like I was saying, that I couldn't play because I didn't play guitar. But I had a good foundation going into it, and then picked up a guitar when I was, like I said, 9 or 10. And then as soon as I started playing guitar and just kind of figuring that out, that's when I basically stopped playing piano and cello and just concentrated on guitar.
How did those experiences going to Europe, and then on top of that, playing the cello, how did that prepare you for your music career now?
I think it's probably the same as any other artist anywhere. It's kind of the whole path leading up to it. You don't just wake up one day and say, I'm gonna start writing songs and get them on the radio and do all that. It's kind of like it's a journey. So I mean, as far as like this is my first interview I've ever done. It's like my first like solo album I'm putting out. So it's all new, but I do have the foundation of I know how to play guitar. I know how to sing my songs, and just the familiarity there. So
going back to the military a little bit. So I can only assume you learned a lot of discipline, and being in the military, Green Beret, it's kind of a testament to probably your resilience, right? With that being said, how do you think that's prepared you as a recording artist, singer-songwriter, in your personal and I guess artistic journey?
Not sure I really understand the question there.
So how did your military basically experience prepare you for now going into music?
Okay. Well, I think there's similarities, but I wouldn't say it's just the military with me. Like I said a second ago, I think it's like the whole journey. It's kind of everything leading up to this point. There's definitely a lot of unknowns for me in the music business because there's some songs that I'll listen to, like that's not on the radio, and I'm like, that's a good song. Yeah. Why don't I hear that? Why is the first time I'm hearing it having 200 views on YouTube? Like, what's going on with that? And then I'll hear stuff on the radio. It's like, that's the same regurgitated nonsense that I've been hearing for 10 years. Like, why does that have 1 billion views on TikTok or something like that? So
I'm with you.
Yeah. So that's,
I'm with you.
I don't think anything can really prepare you for that because the songs that I've written, like they're. I mean, obviously every artist should like his own stuff, or at least pretend to. And I think the songs are good. Just it's a long shot to get any kind of real hit unless you're like actually in the industry, the right people, and just kind of getting the foot in the door here. So, but at the same time, I guess to bring it back to your question, like being a Green Beret, that's a long shot. Even if you are like the perfect candidate, I mean, just a PT animal, the best, the nicest guy, like it's still tough to do. You got to get lucky at a lot of different points to actually get to the end. So I think just kind of like you said earlier, just that resilience, I guess, but that's a good question. I've actually never thought about that before. Yeah.
So I know you talked about the radio and how there's certain songs that aren't that good in your opinion, and then you have something that has like 100 views, and you're like, wow, this is like truly amazing. Yeah. Well, there's a artist that said like has this line where he talks about he's like, we all claim to be some of the greatest musical artists, but yet the greatest musical artist is probably stacking inventory on the shelf. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I thought that was like related pretty well. Speaking on, you talked about Journey, right? You talked about Journey and the challenges. What's the biggest challenge you faced in the military and as a Green Beret?
Man, so I'll tell you, I was, and anyone who was on my team in serving would probably say the same thing. I was a bit of a square peg in a round hole in the military. Like my background was, like private golf clubs, college educated, that kind of stuff. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, there were plenty of college educated guys, but my background was a little bit unique going in. And all the other guys, kind of saw me as like this, not an outcast, but like, hey, Craig, he's a good dude. Kind of a dumbass, but he's a good dude. We'll keep him around. And I'm being a little self-deprecating there. Like, I was competent in my job, but everything was brand new for me. And a lot of guys, so I went through what's called the 18 X-ray program, which is essentially you go straight from a civilian to a Green Beret. Okay. I'd say that's getting to now more of what the guys are doing, but back, when I was doing it, probably about 10 years ago is when I went through the Q. I'd say there were more guys who were already in the military for a long time, who, like were in a unit, applied to go, and did it like the old-fashioned way, which is how you should do it, to be honest with you. But they already had the military bearing. They already had deployments. They've already seen combat. They already know what the Army is. And I'm sitting there just like, wide-eyed looking around, having no idea what's going on, just trying to do the job right. So the hardest thing for me was not necessarily the job itself. It was trying to figure out how not to mess it up worse than I'm already messing it up, basically. And because some guys, like, they already had the military bearing, but they couldn't figure out, the math on a charge to blow up a door or something. They couldn't figure in sniper school. Like, they couldn't, figure out, like a wind call or something, or they just couldn't make the ruck time, something like that. But they had all the military bearing. I could do all that stuff fine. Yeah. I just didn't know what the hell I was doing other than that, which is unfortunately like a big part about. Well, not unfortunately, but it's a big part about being in the military. Luckily, I had some great mentors. My senior on my team was very patient with me, thank God, and taught me most of what I knew about the military as soon as I got to a team. So I was very, very lucky in that regard. Had some good team leaders, just really good dudes. I got lucky because the other thing about the Green Berets, as soon as you pass the Q, you get put on what's called a ODA, Operational Detachment Alpha, and then so that's a team of 12 guys, and then that's the guys you basically spend every moment of your life with for the next however long you stay on the team. Sometimes guys don't fit; they'll be on the team for a couple weeks or a month, and the other guys on the team like, yeah, this guy sucks, get him out of here. Goes off to the B team. Other guys will, if you're lucky, stay on a team for 3, 4, maybe even 5 years sometimes. But typically it's about 3 years as long as they'll be on. And I was on mine for just under 3. And then, so I got very lucky in that regard, having a good support system around me. Because if I didn't have that, if guys were like, yeah, this Tallent dude, what the hell's he doing? Send him back, but they were patient with me. Yeah. It was good.
So those guys you talked about, those 12 guys, or, some of them interchanged, as you said, but did you guys become very, very close? Because you're spending every moment with each other.
Yeah, it's kind of like any sports team or something. Like any place you work. Because at the end of the day, it's a job. There were some guys I clicked with like really well. Probably like 2 or 3 of them on the team. Another 2 or 3 who I didn't like and they didn't like me much. And the other guys like just kind of like anybody. Like they're there. Like you like them, they're good people, but you're not going to hang out with them on a weekend. Stuff like that. I know it's a little bit different when, war and training and that kind of stuff is involved, but it's similar to any sports team I played on, like work, stuff like that. Kind of the same personal relationships, just a unique job.
So, military-wise, where did you end up traveling to?
So I did a few JSETs. I did one to Korea. I did 2 to Japan. JSET it's a training operation with the host nation's military. Usually they're special forces guys, and then. So my combat tour was to Iraq from 2014 to 2015. So there might have been one more sprinkled in there. I can't remember where, but yeah. So I think I had like 4 deployments, one of which was combat, and we were the first, as far as I know, the first team or first company into Iraq in 2014 after the troops were pulled out in 2011. That was kind of like the height of ISIS.
Wow.
And but yeah, no, we had a good deployment. Every American at least came back alive. But it wasn't like the typical. Like SF deployment where you're just running a gun, and there was a lot of setting up, supply lines that were no longer there, just kind of, setting the presence back up and just kind of prepping it for the coming years or months and years that, where it's actually going to pick up more. So I'm very glad I got to deploy because there are a bunch of guys who'll get in, they just never have the chance, and that also sucks about it too, because you put all the time and effort and training in, and you just kind of sit on a fob, or you don't deploy at all. You just do a bunch of training missions for a mission that never comes around. So I was lucky, fortunate enough to actually get to put some of it into use over in Iraq, and it's definitely a tough place to be.
Yeah.
Another thing for me that
I can only imagine.
Yeah, about being over there was like after my 6 months, like I got to go home. Like you make these relationships with these good Iraqi people. Like I think a misconception is, especially with people who don't know a lot about it, they're like, oh, Iraq, it's ISIS. It's like, nah, ISIS was a very small faction like most Iraqis, like they're not ISIS. They're good people. And you make these relationships with these guys, and you see how hard it is for them, over there. And like as soon as I leave, they're staying right there. Like ISIS is still like knocking on the door. Like they don't get a reprieve from that, And we got ripped out with I think SEAL Team 5 took over after we left, and then after that, I'm not really sure. Just kind of had other stuff going on.
Yeah, so that's another thing I wanted to pick up on was you talked about ISIS, you talked about Iraqis, and you talked about how there's a lot of people that are just innocent people.
Yeah.
And I don't think people realize that, especially when you haven't seen the world and you're a person that's been all over, right? You've been to Europe, Iraq, you said you've been to Korea. So that's another thing I want to talk about. How has that shaped who you are now? Because people know there's a whole world out there, but until you actually travel, I don't think it really hits.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like I was saying, I kind of grew up in a little bubble. Like to no fault of mine, that's just it was great. I loved it, but I didn't know anything of the world really. And I would certainly be a different person today if I hadn't done that. I wouldn't say I'd be a worse person, but I'd definitely be naive to the world that we all live in that I just hadn't seen. And I think you can say that about really anybody. You have to experience those other things to actually kind of understand what's going on. You don't have to like it. You don't even have to respect it. But I think you should experience it just to give yourself a little more education on what's out there.
Yeah, I agree. I went to Europe this summer, and I went to Greece for the first time. I'm Greek.
I went to Greece on my honeymoon. It was the best 2 weeks of my life.
That's awesome. That makes me proud. No, that makes me proud because I'm Greek, and my grandfather came here with nothing. Right? Yeah. He came here with $100. Came here with 3 kids, and then he had my father 5 months being here, right? And my grandmother worked as a seamstress. My grandfather worked as a custodian, kind of. Then he moved up. Eventually, he became a cook. And after that, he went and he took a shop and opened up his own hot dog cart. Then he had 2 hot dog carts. Then he had 3. So that hits strong to me. Foundation, and able to go back to what I consider home, the homeland, whatever. That was really big for me because it's crazy. I went over there, and I didn't know what to expect first of all, but I felt at home because I don't know if it was the culture, it was the people, but it felt very welcome. Yeah. And being able to, and then I went to obviously other countries, but being able to see all of that, I always knew there's a whole world out there, but it's kind of funny because there's little worlds within the whole world. It's like little different worlds, and it's pretty interesting. But yeah, so linguistic. So how well did you come to speak Chinese?
Well,
because you did talk about how you're very...
Yeah, so we talked about it a little earlier. So it's a muscle, right? It's a perishable skill. I did a Maymester, I guess. It was kind of a summer semester I did over there in 2009 at Beijing University, where it was not full immersion. There was obviously a lot of English going on, but basically the teacher was like super hands-off and was like, hey, you guys are in China, go out and do stuff. Like just travel, talk to people, meet people, go to, like random places there are no Americans, just like, figure stuff out on your own. So that was really cool because there's, sometimes programs will, and this is 2009, different world a little bit.
Yeah, it is.
But I don't know if you get away with that today, but back then, I'm talking about like it was 100 years ago. But it was,
But still, no, but the world has changed a lot.
Yeah.
And I know that from being a kid to now, even from the aesthetics of like fast food restaurants. Now it's all like modern, whereas back then it was a little bit different. You had playground sets at the McDonald's, like little stuff like that, and now you don't. Yeah. So everything's changed. Technology has taken over, obviously, but go ahead.
That was pretty much it. So they let us just kind of experience just what being like a foreigner in China is, and it was great. Yeah. Got a lot out of it. But I'd say at my height, like when I was practicing every day, immersed into it, I was not fluent, but I could certainly have a conversation with like any Chinese guy about a pretty wide range of topics. But today, if I was talking to a Chinese guy, I'd be like, "Hey, the weather is nice. What's your name? This is my name. Like, how are?" Like, it'd be very basic. But like I said, it's a muscle. Like as soon as I start working at it again, if I had the drive to kind of get back to it, I feel like I could get it back pretty quickly. Like we said, the easiest way to get it back, if I had to learn Chinese, just ship me off to China for a couple months, and I'll figure it out. I already got the base there, but. So the way I started learning Chinese was at my the old school I was at. they had 2 languages they offered in 6th grade. So you had to do 6th, 7th, and 8th of the language. They only offered Chinese and Latin.
Wow.
And you couldn't do like you have the Spanish or the French or all those other
it's
languages.
like specific.
Yeah, until
Latin's
high
very
school.
broad and old. And
Yeah, so I ended up doing Chinese. Me and like 8 other kids. All the other guys did Latin because I guess it makes more sense. But I had Chinese is a tonal language.
It is,
because every word is monosyllabic. There's no like you can't say things other than one word. And after a while, you run out of words, so you have to use the same word just with different tones. And with that, so there are 4 tones in Chinese. We can go straight across, up, down, and check. So let's say a mat, right? So I'll go mat, right? So that's 1. And I think 2 is mat. Yeah. And then 3 is mat, and 4 is mat.
Wow.
So the first sentence they teach you.
Very interesting.
Yeah, the first sentence they teach you means mom rides the horse. The horse is slow, so mom hits the horse. And he uses the word ma a lot.
Yeah.
And then so it sounds like it's ma ma chi ma 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 ma. So that's the sentence.
That's very
and
hard.
Listening to
wow.
it, you're like, the hell's going on? But so mom is mama, and then horse is ma. I think hit is man, M-A-N, but it kind of sounds like ma.
Wow.
And then chi. So there's 3 or 4 words that are basically the same thing. It goes ma ma chi ma 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 ma.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there going like, well, fucking,
what's
throw
going
me
on?
in Latin.
I thought Arabic was hard. It's the second hardest, supposed to be the second hardest language for an English speaker, but no. I think Chinese takes the cake.
it's definitely up there. But actually, this could kind of tie back into music. So, the first question in the Q course in language school, the first question our teacher asked us, he said, "Hey, who here can sing?" And it was me and one other guy raised our hands, and he was like, "Well, you guys are probably gonna have the easiest time with this language because you have to pay attention to the inflections of the tones." And he was. I mean, he didn't know I already kind of spoke it, but the other guy did very well and picked it up, because usually when an American speaks Chinese, it sounds like this: Ni hao, wo jiao tai lun. It's like, okay,
it's so bland.
You're like, Ni hao, wo jiao tai lun, tai shan de tai, kun shan de lun. Like, it sounds like with the tones, it sounds a little more like a Chinese person speaking. So yeah, I've always the tone part came easily to me. That's what Americans usually have the hardest time with Chinese, is just figuring out the tones. So music has helped me yet again.
Yeah, that's interesting. All right, so how did you? So you resided in Philadelphia, right? Right now, how do you balance family time and your music career?
Yeah, so
that's very
there's
interesting.
Not a lot of balance. It's like 95% family.
Yeah.
Sorry, man. I got a 3-year-old and 11-month-old.
Yes.
And like
congratulations, by the way.
Thank you very much. They look nothing like me at all. I brown hair, brown eyes. I got one son who's my oldest has blue eyes and blonde hair. My youngest has blue eyes and red hair. So I'm always feeling like, I like you 2 little guys, but I don't know. But no, and again, you got to prioritize, right?
Yeah.
So, music is great. I've always loved it. I'm getting it out there. I'm spending time. But my priority right now is my family. So
of course.
As soon as I get home from work, it's wife kind of just does the old handoff, because she's been with them all day.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to keep them from not killing each other. And but no, it's I wish I do more time with music. It's usually kind of at the end of the day. I'll just go down to the basement, and record something or play or just kind of songwrite a little bit. But I'm tired and I want to go to bed. So it's kind of sporadic a little bit.
I have a question. Let's talk about your first single.
Okay.
Your first single. Tell us the name of it real quick.
Yeah, Now That We're Through.
Now that we're through.
Yeah, dropped on October 27th. Yeah, a couple weeks now.
Let me go before you let me know that you don't need me. I can't wait. I wanna know what I did wrong to make you up and leave me, baby.
Okay, and you can find on Apple Music, Spotify, everywhere, right? Every type of platform. So I want to ask you, what inspired you to make that song specifically? And second of all, how did you come out with your first single, and what was the process of that? What's the process of making the music? Tell me, like, through an artistic lens of yours, through your artistic lens, how it all came together.
Yeah, so I guess I'll tackle the second part of that question first. So making music today, like making good music you can hear on the radio today, is like, could cost you a couple $100.
Yeah.
You got to get a laptop or a recording device, but like this mic was probably $100 maybe. This good audio quality. You can spend as much as you want to spend, but I could like with that Mac right there and this microphone, like one little kind of interface, and a guitar, like and maybe a MIDI keyboard, like $500, $600, you can make professional recordings. And also you can go to a studio and pay, tens of thousands of dollars for like the best stuff, and it's going to sound basically the same. And so for this, all the music that I do, I basically record directly just into my phone, kind of, and then after that, after I kind of know the structure of the song, what I want to do, I just use a Mac. And I got my buddy Griffin Boyce. Shout out to Griffin. He's helped record all my stuff. Great dude. Met him years ago, even before I was in the military, and kept in contact with him. Awesome producer. He's worked with everybody. Look up Griffin Boyce. Great dude. And so he actually, because of our friendship, I'll fly him out to my house once or twice a year, and we'll just kind of hang out, shoot the shit, and record some stuff. And some sessions are like kind of get intense. Where like other sessions we're just having a couple drinks, just kind of chilling, got a TV on in the background, just kind of seeing what the vibes are, so we can write a song. So
bouncing around.
Yes, and so that's how Now That We're Through happened. We were just hanging out. I had another couple hours or something, before we had it was probably late, just kind of wanted to get to bed, nothing was really happening, and just started kind of playing this riff. It's just like I think it's like an E and maybe like a B diminished or something. There's 2 chords on the whole song. That's it. I was just kind of messing with that. Then you put a little loop, little drum track on it, put a little bells or chimes in the back, and then we kind of got to the chorus, didn't know what was going on, and it was a little too low in the register, so I just started doing just like high, just falsetto, just nonsense I've never done before, and the whole thing just kind of came together and just kind of worked. And the lyrics, it's a little bit open-ended. It's not like, like a song like Devil Went Down to Georgia. It's like, hey, here's what the song's about. The devil went down to Georgia, there's a dude with a fiddle. Like, you can't interpret it any other way than that. This one, it's kind of, I guess, about a relationship where, like now that we're through, like I still don't regret loving you, and I'm that kind of vibe, or, it's kind of open-ended, like, now that we're through, I still, we still have good times, I'm not going to apologize for that. So I think at least that's my interpretation.
Still made memories.
Yeah, exactly. So you're still through, like you're done. But, it's not all negative.
Yeah.
And it's a cool vibe. It's a cool song.
Yeah. So check that out. Make sure to check it out on all platforms you can get it. It doesn't matter whether it's Apple Music, Spotify. It does not matter. Any platform, check it out. You do have some more coming out. You have your new EP, Kamikaze Paper Planes, right?
Yep.
So what messages or what do you hope to convey to your fans and your audience with Kamikaze Paper Planes? Like what message, theme?
Man, I don't know if there's a singular theme.
We can talk through the range of them.
Yeah. So another part of your question a minute ago was how did you pick the single?
Yes.
I basically sent most of my songs to the music room, the team. They're like, oh yeah, this one's gonna be the single. I was like, all right, cool. I kind of like other ones too, but we can go with that one. I guess it's the most upbeat. The most kind of single-y song, I think lyrically there are other ones that are going to drop that I enjoyed writing more and enjoyed playing more. But as far as the single goes, like that sounds the most like a single. Yeah. They said it was going to be a single, and I'm not going to fight them. So,
So the music room, guys at the music room, guys like Reed, right? Yeah. I assume. So what is your relationship with Reed? How did you meet him? Ogden. Many people in the community wouldn't recognize him as Ogden. His name's Reed. How did that relationship come to be?
Yeah, so it came through golf, actually.
Came through golf.
Yeah, so Reed went to Penn State with Saquon Barkley.
Yes.
And then, he keeps in touch with Saquon. And long story short, to get on Marion, you have to play with a member. It's a private club. And then one of the assistant pros at Marion also knew Reed, and I guess through Reed, Saquon, there was something there. And he no longer worked at Marion, but asked me if I had any interest in hosting, Saquon Barkley. And I'm like, yeah, not a huge Giants fan, but Saquon Barkley wants to play Marion. I'll get Saquon Barkley on Marion. And then last minute, it was earlier this year when he was going through like pretty heavy contract negotiations, and something came up. He had to be obviously at a meeting where he needed to get his career figured out there before the season, and he couldn't make it. But Reed was already in Philly, and I guess I even asked him this. I guess he was just going to go back to L.A., but I reached out to him. I was like, hey, man, I know Saquon's not playing. That sucks, but you're here. Do you want to play Marion? And, so we ended up just having a really good time. Great dude. He's a lefty, got a good swing, and just really nice guy. Didn't talk about music at all. Just talked about life, other kind of stuff, and, really liked the dude. And then, on the way, home or something when he was leaving, going back to L.A., I was like, oh, by the way, I play music. Here's 4 or 5 of my songs. He was like, oh, dude, this actually doesn't suck. It's just pretty good. Have you ever put these out? I'm like, nah, I just kind of do it as a hobby. Yeah. Then he was like, well, I'm starting this new thing called Music Room, and, we don't have anybody signed yet. Do you want to be our first? They kind of signed ours. So I was like, yeah, let's do that. And it's been great, because he knows more about the back end of the stuff, and we work real closely with another guy named Chibu, who is awesome. And he has a whole lot of music experience. He's worked with, I'm not going to name drop, but like a lot of top artists. Working with those two guys has been great. We got a call set up every Tuesday where we go over stuff, and we're in a little group chat where we just kind of like feed off each other and kind of see what, and Reed's great with all the, kind of the numbers and like what's going on, where we need to attack next. So it's fun. It's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it to be working with that team, and I got no complaints.
That's awesome. That's good to hear. So reflecting on your journey, right, so far, it seems, Vanderbilt, learning Chinese, being pretty fluent in Chinese, then becoming a Green Beret sniper, coming out, then now attacking music. So what advice would you give someone who's striving to pursue these similar passions, whether it's the military, whether it's music, whether it's trying to learn another language, in these like various fields? What advice would you give them?
My life's been kind of random. I don't really and if you told me, when I was at Vanderbilt, even my senior year at Vanderbilt, if you told me in, less than 12 months, I'll be a, special forces candidate jumping out of planes, I'd have looked you in the face and been like, I don't know where the hell you got that from, but it ended up happening, and I was still there. So I guess to answer your question, they're like, I don't think you have to have like a set path. Like, just kind of embrace the chaos, really. Like, anything that happens, just, embrace it with an open mind, and never quit is the other thing. Like, you can, like I said earlier, you can forgive failure, and that's how you succeed later on, by learning from your mistakes. If you're not messing up, if you're not failing, you're not trying. No. So I'd say, just number one, just embrace the randomness that life can throw at you sometimes. Number two, whatever you do, like, don't half-ass it. And I know that's like super cliche, like everyone's always said that, but like, truly. It's true. Like, just don't quit, give it your all, and see where it takes you.
I think it's very true. I believe in the mindset of 1% better every day, and you're not going to be always 1% better, but it's about trying to be 1% better, because there's days where you go one step forward and it's two steps back, and that's life. But when you progressively, have that mindset, 1% better every day, it adds up.
Just keep showing up.
It's like a catapult, you know what I mean? Kind of
100%.
So hard work. Never ever give up, I believe, is the strongest message anyone can ever have. And it sounds like very cliche, like you said, but having hope, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. People that are in tough times, like when you have hope, whether, you have hope in God, you have hope in this, hope in your family, hope things will get better, you have something to hold on to. Otherwise, you just fall into the chaos and you fall, slip. Absolutely. So that's one thing. So how do you want your legacy to be remembered when it comes to music and beyond, your family, everything? Just curious.
I don't think I've ever thought about it. I guess I just, I'd want people to remember you just as a good dude, just a guy, and who was always there for his family and, and his friends. As far as like, do I think my life's going to be a failure if, my next single doesn't go platinum? Like, no, nothing like that. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. I'd love for it to go platinum. But I don't really view any legacy at all, other than, I want my kids to respect and to love me down the road. Well, obviously now, but when they're grown and they do their own thing, looking back to see what I was able to kind of show them or teach them, I think that would be my legacy, would be my kids, be my family. As far as the other stuff, it's fun. Yeah. I definitely want to put out good music and do good things and that stuff, but I would view my legacy as how my family, my friends, remember me down the road.
I have a question. Is there anything else you want to say specifically? Want to shout out anyone? Want to do anything? You have your new EP coming out, right? And it is called Kamikaze Paper Planes.
Yeah.
Right? So Kamikaze Paper Planes, make sure to check that out very soon. If you want to talk about that a little bit more in terms of release. Yeah.
So we're basically releasing like a song every couple of weeks, maybe a song a month. Might speed up a little bit here. Got the main, it's an EP right now. I mean, I got, like probably 20-something songs, 20 or 30 songs that I've like professionally recorded. Just kind of over the years, but I think we have like a main 5 right now for an EP. That might evolve until like just a full featured 10 or 15, just put everything out. But but it's the main. So the next one we got coming out is December 1st, and it's called Ain't It Strange. And so that song is just kind of about like, just a little bit kind of like this conversation about like talking about life and kind of how random it is and how strange it can be, and nothing has to make sense, but it's the only way I can really describe it. It's a cool song. It's got a good beat drop, kind of about 3/4 way through. But it's cool. I'm honestly, I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm more excited for that one to come out than the lead single. That's like the worst thing you can probably say as an artist. Like, oh, the lead single's cool, but this one's better. But this one, I'm really excited to get out.
It's awesome. That's good to hear. So you can check that out very soon, and make sure to check them out on Apple Music, Spotify, whatever music platform you guys have. And is there anything else?
I think I'm good, man. Go Phillies.
That's it. Go Phillies. Go Eagles.
Go Eagles. Go Birds.
Go Sixers.
Sixers, Flyers.
Big Philly fan?
Oh, huge, man.
Huge.
Yeah, no, I was at Game 6 of the World Series in Houston last year.
Oh,
we
you were?
lost.
Yeah,
I had a buddy down there who hadn't seen it in a couple of years, and just it all worked. I thought we were gonna win, but that sucked. And watched all our neighbors. My one neighbor's got like a big like a projector screen in his backyard, and we'll get like some fires going. Just like get a bunch of beer and stuff, just like watch the games back there.
Awesome.
Have all the kids running around.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, it's awesome.
Nice little fire maybe or something.
Perfect. Yeah, exactly. It's just the best. I look forward to that time of year every year, especially since we're in the playoffs now.
I
It's
know.
great.
I know.
Hope we can make it back.
We keep on going and keep on.
I know. Just
You
rip my
keep
heart.
on falling a little short.
I know.
But still. Yeah, no. Go Phillies, go Eagles, go Sixers. Philadelphia.
Sir.
Thank you very much. Craig, I want to thank you very much for coming on. It was a joy for me. I had a great time talking. I love talking about life, so this is something I love personally. Thank you very much, man. All right. See you guys next time. Thank you. The Maltepes Show, you can find it on X, YouTube, and Spotify, brought to you by the Coffee of Gods.